Hi guys, welcome to Discover, and in today's video, we will take a look at the attack of Pearl Harbor. As we know, attack on Pearl Harbor was one of the history course-changing event in history which directly opportuned America to involve in the Second World War. Before starting the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe the channel. In 1853, Japan broke its 200-year isolation and opened a gateway of trade for foreign traders. This eventually ended feudalism in Japan, and country's economy became dependent on industrial production. But Japan's geography doesn't hold raw materials, as per its need to make it an Asian tiger, so to acquire more natural resources, Japan started to acquire lands beyond its boundaries. Japan acquired island of Taiwan and won First Russo-Japanese War, which enabled it to take control of Manchuria by defeating the Russians in First Russo-Japanese War in 1910. Japan also invaded Korea and colonized it too. But Japanese invasion did not stop there, and its imperial army deepens into China and the Mongolian regions. Moreover, in Europe, situations also started to become worse with the rise of Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. Both countries also vowed for firm friendship with each other. All these conditions, this forces America to cut oil supply to Japan. And by 1941, American President Franklin Roosevelt also froze the Japanese assets in America. This step was to destroy the Japanese ambition to further invade. America warned Japan that it will be out of fuel until it brings back all its forces. Free the occupied countries. By the end of 1940, Japanese generals suggested a plan to take control of French Indochina and Malaysia to meet their oil needs. But America was standing with a stern chest in the way of Japan, as it has several islands and Philippines as its colony. So in war situation, America will defend the Southeast Asia by its mighty fleet standing on its Hawaiian military base, Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was the center of America's naval power in Pacific. Means American fleet would be helpless in case of any gigantic attack on Pearl Harbor, as there were the most powerful battleships of it. Japanese General Isoroku Yamamoto tried to convince its officials to not make a war with us, as he was well aware of America's industrial power, but they didn't listen to him. And obeying their orders, Yamamoto tried to prepare the Japanese forces in such a way that a single attack could destroy all American fleet on Pearl Harbor. So preparation for this attack held for months, and in order to confuse the American radar technology, he suggested the fleet to move in a zigzag fashion, so Americans could not guess their location. Island of Hawaii was very far from Japan, so American generals were relaxed that Japan will not do such a mistake of sending their forces 4,000 miles away from mainland, and this was the ultimate error, that they did not take the radar messages seriously. On the other hand, Japanese military was preparing with full zeal, and ZIS pilots were given trainings of their targets according to the plan of Japanese. Their forces would split in small groups and will attack the main areas of Pearl Harbor a wave after a wave. In this way, Americans were not given a chance to bounce back and to attack the Japanese. Yamamoto would lead Japanese fleet from Japan, and fleet would be led by his vice admiral. The Japanese were ready to attack Pearl Harbor with a massive fleet of 6 aircraft carriers on them aboard, more than 365 fighter aircrafts, with the most powerful World War fighter plane Zero fighter, along with 3 battleships and 3 light cruisers. With the advance of Japanese forces, American radar on Hawaiian Island started to send signals to American generals, but as the fleet was in zig-zag direction, so it was hard for them to guess their destiny. Most of them guessed Philippines or Mariana, so they alerted armies in Philippines and islands near to Japan. And there was no panic situation on Pearl Harbor about the Japanese air attack. But on the night of the 6th of December, they reached close to Hawaii. And at the dawn of December 7, 1941, 365 aircrafts flew to attack on Pearl Harbor, and by fortune, it was a day of Sunday, and sailors were taking a long rest and there was no guarding aircraft also that day. And finally, on the morning of December 7th, 1941 at 7:55 a.m., the first bomb exploded and Japanese aircraft started firing. Attack was very sudden, that Americans were not given a chance to stabilize themselves. And as the attack progressed, Japanese also attacked American airbases on Philippines at the same date and same time. Japanese planes surrounded the whole Hawaiian island, and wave after wave destruction continued. Torpedoes stuck in the battleships and destroyed them. More than 1,000 Americans were killed in Arizona alone. The death toll rised up as more planes started to attack. Attack continued for more than 2 hours, in which Japanese targeted many airfields and naval ships. After some time, the American fleet at Pearl activated and also started to attack the Japanese. But the Japanese attack was so overwhelming that American counterstrike can't prolong. The Japanese sunk more than 6 giant battleships that were considered to be the pride of American fleet. More than 19 battleships were damaged to destroyers and 1 light cruiser was sunk. Also, 1 submarine was damaged. More than 200 aircrafts at airfield were destroyed, and more than 3,200 Americans were killed in the attack. But luckily 3 American aircraft carriers, which were the main Japanese targets, saved, as on that date they were in the sea, so this also saved America from a very heavy destruction. But this sudden attack on American fleet shook America and the whole world. At first, this attack was considered as a great victory of Japan, but it proved very disastrous because America got an excuse to enter World War, and on the 8th of December USA declared war on Japan and later on Germany. The attack on Pearl Harbor was one of the most important events in the whole course of history, but there are many controversies regarding to it, as many historians believe that Pearl Harbor was a man-made event. Many spots that British was aware of this attack even months before, but they do not expose it to the American because at that time they were on the verge of destruction and cannot stand up against the Germans without American support, so they kept it a secret. On the other hand, there are many authors who believe that it was a plot of Franklin D. Roosevelt in order to enter the war. There are a number of mixed reviews about the attack of Pearl Harbor, and a number of authors wrote thousands of books regarding to the attack on the Pearl Harbor. There were 2 blunders Japanese did. First, they left 3 aircraft carriers of USA, which was a might of Navy. And second, they couldn't attack the oil fields in Hawaii, which holds 3-year fuel of American Navy, and these mistakes costed a lot to Axis. This attack caused a 4-year deadly war in Pacific, which took millions of lives and crumbled British and the Japanese Empire. After it, American supremacy dominated over the whole region, and this war ended after dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and ending the Japanese Empire as a whole by 1945. Both in European war theater and Pacific, the Axis powers were forced to their knees and signed a non-conditional surrender.